think of your money as your employees, and you make
Yep.
them go. You make them go to work. If they're just sitting in your bank account, you're not making them work.
So maybe
Right?
we should touch on a
Yeah.
couple things that you do, or I guess what do you do to make your money grow for you and work for you? And I know obviously real estate's a big component for both of us,
Yeah.
but maybe touch on some of those. I don't know, investment vehicles.
Yeah. Oh, well, like, well, even before that, it's funny because, just for me to afford to buy my first property, I was doing what we just said, like I was saving. It took a while for me to come up with like the down payment to purchase a property, but that's how I didn't have enough money to kind of invest because they tell you like come up with your emergency fund and you shouldn't really put all your life savings into like a down payment for a home. Just
Mhm.
have some wiggle room, which I kind of did. I kind of like, maybe if I had, maybe like couple thousand, 10,000 or whatever, enough after I made the down payment, make sure I had some safety net, right? Just in
Mhm.
case, S hits the fan, right? So,
Yep.
right. But then that's what I did. I kind of just save, 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 save. Eventually I had enough and I was ready to make a move. I got pre-approved for a loan and went shopping. And that's how I kind of like, purchased my first property. I know we're going to go, that's the kind of next episode. Like, well, how did you buy that first property and
Mhm.
and the experience of that, which is a totally interesting experience for me because I didn't know what I was doing. I was just like, I wanted a bachelor pad and I wanted to like buy my own place and I don't want to pay rent to a landlord anymore. But, fast forward back to your question today, like sort of the things that I'm doing now, I'm I have like, I like to diversify my funds, right? So I don't just have real estate. My primary kind of investment vehicle to building wealth long term is real estate. And I have like, we can talk more about our deals, but I have like a mixture of like single family homes, a couple small multifamily, but primarily my syndication properties with my two partners over at Flight,
Mhm.
with our investors on their deals. That's probably like my primary kind of investment vehicle to build that wealth, to build that legacy wealth for my family and kids. And on top of that, I have my normal, kind of like brokerage accounts with like my banks and so forth, just dabbling in stocks. But I don't do stocks, so I have someone else do it for me, which is kind of like kind of interesting. I mean, that's another topic, like people investing their 401k, and I'm like, I do syndications, and I'm like an operator. And when you invest with me, you're talking to the person who's actually
Yeah.
operating the business
Yep.
versus like someone if but they're like, oh, I don't know, it seems risky. I'm like, well, you're giving your money to someone in your 401k.
Yeah.
Do you know who's managing your 401k?
You don't even
Like,
know his or her name.
have you met them before?
Yeah.
Have you chatted with them? They don't have a feed. What is it? That fancy fiduciary responsibility or
Yep.
whatever, right? They could make you lose money or gain money. They still get paid. So I don't know. I kind of like bring. I was like, who do you know who's managing your 401k, or I think it's a 529b plan for like college, but like,
Yeah.
versus like something else. So I don't know. Anyways, that's another. I mean, there's a lot of different investment vehicles out there right now, but real estate's my primary one. I have my brokers just to be diversified a little bit. And I'm just looking at like some other, ways, maybe like, kind of like social media, blogging kind of, I was like looking at affiliate marketing at one point. Like, how do I do that?
Mhm.
Maybe I'm doing like reviewing real estate books, still kind of aligned with real estate. So it's sort of like vertically integrated. Maybe I do a review of books or a review of kind of like real estate programs and get kind of paid that way just to bring some residual incomes or even buying businesses.
Mhm.
Like, I have my housing real estate. I know my company at Flight, we were looking at like purchasing like car washes.
Yeah.
We're getting to self-storage assets.
Storage. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's another asset. That's a different asset class. It's still real estate, but it's a different asset class.
Yeah.
So we're diversifying kind of like our asset classes there still in the real estate realm, but just another way to bring different streams of income. We even looked about like buying there's one property we looked at, like, hey, we can buy this property and we inherit the bar on the first floor. Like, cool, we can
Mhm.
own a bar.
Yeah.
This was last year. Good thing we didn't get it because it would have got
Yeah.
hit during COVID.
Oh man.
But I don't know. You probably have. You're way better at like finding different streams than me. So what did you look for? To kind of bring in these additional streams of income?
Yeah. I mean, I think we started off. we both have very similar startings with, I got into the single family world. More so, it's interesting to hear your story about how you wanted, your whole goal was to just not pay rent to someone else. My whole
Yeah.
goal was to just cash flow. And so that's hard to
Yeah.
do in the Bay Area where you were buying. So
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, my portfolio started with a couple single family homes that were cash flowing in the Midwest. Then I recall I really diversified and grew my portfolio by buying a duplex. So I
There
went
you
from
go.
single
Right.
family to
Yeah.
duplex.
Yeah.
I still own those right now. They cash flow for me in the Midwest market. And then that's when I diversified into actually the larger multifamily space,
Mm,
but as an LP, limited partner. So
mm,
basically just exchanging capital for equity.
mm.
And so that's, yeah, it's single family homes, small multifamily on my own, um, limited partner investments where I'm a passive investor, exchanging capital for equity, and then
Mhm.
also have a little experience on the GP general partner side where I'm more active in larger
Mm.
multifamily. So a lot of the ways that my money grows for me is through real estate, obviously, which is why we're doing a
Yeah.
YouTube channel and a show on that. But
Yeah.
that's also then led me down the road of education, creating a
Mhm.
blog, doing some affiliate marketing,
Mhm.
doing some partnerships. I've created like digital products now, which I sell on my website.
Mm.
So it's kind of the whole real estate industry has expanded my income streams tremendously.
Mhm.
I'm not tremendously in terms of like I'm making millions a year. I'm saying
Yeah.
it's allowed me to create more opportunities for myself.
Yeah.
And then I have the typical, retirement funds. I do have a taxable stock account that I just kind of play around in, and it's somewhat stressful.
Mm. Yeah.
And then like a Roth, 401, a Roth IRA. So
Yeah. Yeah.
it's stocks and real estate for me. And then for those that know me pretty well, I'm also kind of the side hustle guy who will literally on a random Thursday night go out and drive DoorDash because it's like I don't know why I do that, but I'll literally go deliver food for like 4 hours one night on a random Wednesday.
Hey, yeah. I mean, you do what you gotta do, right?
Yep.
You know. No, I think it's great. I mean, like, it kind of goes back to what we were talking about earlier. That the cash flow quadrant from Robert Kiyosaki. Or I buy businesses, be a businessman, be an entrepreneur,
Mm-hmm.
right? But on top of that, like you could have like your 9 to 5 day job, and that's another stream of income as well, right?
True.
Because that's what I had. I had a full time W-2 job, which was my main source of income, but I had my side hustles with my real estate adding to that additional income, my rental portfolio adding to my W-2 portfolio, right? I just hate it because taxes, you get taxed more on your W-2 income. So
It's kind of funny that neither of us mentioned the W-2
right.
income as an income source.
It is. Yeah, yeah. Oh, another. Like, I have passive income. Another source of income for me is my wife. So.
Oh, that's a good point. It's nice to have a partner in crime like that.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, so I told her like she can't quit because if you quit, you're gonna
She's
I'm gonna
your
lose my
passive income source.
yeah, I'm gonna lose my another stream of income. And so because she's like, when can I quit my job? I was like, no, you can't. What do you do? We need medical, babe. We can't do it. But I don't know if she's gonna lose this later on. But that's yeah. That maybe that's
Hopefully
another
she
one.
listens. We'll
Yeah,
get at least one. We'll get at
yeah,
least one listener.
yeah. That's another investing with a spouse, which is
Yes.
like that's a whole nother episode and so forth. But yeah, I mean, I think the takeaway is just knowing your expenses, right?
Yep.
Tracking, get that, knock down that first domino, right? Just figure out what money's coming in and what's going out. Then you can kind of adjust your means of living there, but without being too frugal where you're eating kind of like rice and beans or whatever like that. Just kind of like figure it out, right? And I think the earlier you start, the better. Obviously, like me, I have a lot of liabilities now. I got my 2 kids, so
Yeah.
if you're young and single, great. Like start now. The sooner you start, the better because
100%.
you have a better grasp of your expenses. Now I got all kinds of diapers and daycare and all this. I mean, my liabilities is
More
going.
liabilities are just creeping up and growing for you.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I can't wait for my kids to get on the asset column. Like for them to kind of like make
Make
some.
them work for you.
Yeah, I mean, like maybe I can have them be like kind of like baby models for like Carter or something, so they start bringing income.
YouTube stars, dude. Make them YouTube stars.
Oh, dude, I know. Just like opening and playing with toys. Can you believe that? Yeah. Hey, that's another stream we can do. I mean, our YouTube channel here, right? I mean, this is all free content and all that, but you can be like a YouTube star, be an influencer,
Yeah.
right?
I think if
You
we
know?
do this for a year, maybe we'll get some success and this could be another income stream. Who knows?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, but that's that's not the point of us doing this show, right?
No.
I just kind of like, kind of sharing our stories, and hopefully people will hear it and relate to it and be like, oh, okay, I kind of went through that same struggle or through that same journey, or like, okay, they're kind of preparing. Oh, they went through this, so it's
Yep.
okay,
Yep.
and it's okay to make mistakes along the way. I like when we go, into our next about talking about our first deal. I made so many mistakes. I knew I was so green.
Oh, same here,
You're
man.
what no what you did before. I mean, you did all that research to buy an investment property. I was like, I just want to buy a place where I can
Yep.
just hang out and be, bring friends over and party. Right. That was my mindset. And then later on, I was like, oh, okay, passive income and wealth and so forth. But
Yeah.
I don't know. We're like
So
digressing.
yeah, so I mean that's we'll give them kind of a teaser for next episode. So next
Yeah.
episode we're going to kind of focus on that first deal even more
Yeah.
in depth on how we, our thought process behind acquiring that first property, kind of the tangible takeaways of how to actually make that first investment, and then some of our learning moments, I would say. And then, I think before we kind of hop into what we'll close on our fun bit, I guess maybe let's just do a super quick recap of what I think the biggest takeaways are from today's episode. I think it starts with kind of understanding your why. I mean, it's going to either come organically or you can kind of force it into yourself. But if you're going to go down the path of real estate investing or investing in general, I think it's always helpful to think about kind of your why and your long-term vision for your life. That alone motivated me to make that jump into real estate. So that's important.
Yep.
Buttoning up your personal finances, like understanding your income, your expenses, figuring out ways to optimize that, and bring in more cash flow for yourself. Understanding the difference between saving versus investing, like having your money work for you versus just kind of sitting there. Of course, always have an emergency fund for emergencies that you might need, but try and prioritize having your money grow for you through various income streams, whether it's real estate, the stock market, side hustles, or other projects. And then I think the last thing I just want to reiterate is, like, I love the saying, what gets measured gets managed. Is that it? Or what is it? I forgot, dude.
Yeah, what gets measured gets measured. I don't know. Rewind earlier in the podcast, or in this video, and then let us know in the comment, like, hey, what did Tyler just say?
What gets measured gets managed. There we go.
Yeah.
And I think it's very important to embrace that.
Yeah. It's almost like I'm more focused on asset management, my syndications, and there's another quote similar to that where, like, don't expect people to do what you don't inspect.
Yeah.
That's a different kind of topic. But you did. Yeah, the main thing is kind of like your why. Figure out your why, and I'll dive into, like, my why was like, I didn't want to pay rent anymore, but my why sort of developed as my life went on, because my why sort of changed after I got married, and then after I got kids. And I'll dive more into it in the future episodes, maybe the next one, when we start talking about, like, our deals of, like, okay, why did I even, why am I now, that was my wife for getting my first deal, but then it kind of, what was my wife for getting the second deal and the third deal and so forth. And it kind of changes every time. And, it's, I mean, you guys, it's my family, so we'll go more into it later on. I want to get that high life, right?
Yeah, I love it, man.
Be back here, have that freedom to kind of, like, travel freely, with my family, be back home with my parents and my relatives back there, and not be tied down to a 9 to 5 job. But that's like later on. So, that's such a good, good topic to bring on for when we start transitioning full time into REI and so forth. But yeah, no, great. I mean,
so how do we end on the fun bit? I always rely on you. To bring the fun, man.
Yeah, well, it's not really. I don't know if it's fun, but, like, I saw an article on Bloomberg the other day, right? And they talked about, like, where wealthy investors are putting their money in now. Where do you think they're putting their money in now?
So the question is, where are wealthy investors putting their money in right now?
Yeah. I mean, it's a pretty easy question.
Based
off the premise of this show.
Well, I mean, my first gut was going to be real estate.
Yeah.
Okay.
Pretty good, pretty good question, right? No, I mean, like, pretty easy question. No, but like,
So is
so
it residential? Is it commercial? Is it just a combination of
oh,
both? Like,
they didn't really dive into it.
okay.
Sorry, like, I know you probably wanted like a little bit more elaborate,
You
like,
found the most fun tip
well,
today and
well,
fact
I
today.
saw that article and I was like, oh, this might be kind of great. So it kind of ties in with like why we invest in real estate in the first place. So what they did was they kind of interviewed these Tiger 21 members, is what they're called, right? And I was like, "What's a Tiger 21
I
members?"
don't
And
know
I'm
what that
reading off my
is.
screen. So a Tiger 21 member is a network of wealthy entrepreneurs, investors, and executives with an average of $100 million in asset. You know, and they have an average of like 22% in public stocks. And the group discloses their asset allocation of its 850 members' portfolios each quarter. So I
Oh
guess they
wow.
kind of like, kind of disclose their portfolio, and real estate remains the largest chunk of their portfolio at 27%. And they mentioned in the article that industrial real estate is on fire right
Hmm.
now, along with investing in workforce housing,
Hmm.
right? Like particularly in
Interesting.
those units that could be garden units around the cities aimed at tenants making around 50,000 a year in stable jobs. So commercial multifamilies,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
And interesting, they also mentioned, that crypto, particular blockchain, is hot. I know nothing about crypto. Maybe, maybe our viewers and listeners know more, but they said that's hot. And what's not so hot is hedge funds. So hedge funds
Huh.
kind of dropped from 7 to 9% a decade ago down to 3%, which is the lowest percentage this year. So, in their portfolio, 20% was real estate. Second was private equity, which also could be private real estate as well,
Yeah,
right?
that's true. Yeah.
Right. So,
I,
I just thought it was a kind of like a fun little, fact, kind of figure out, with the whole GameStop thing that's happening and all the crazy, all the crazy hype with the stocks going on right now with Bitcoin and
Bitcoin
Tesla and
crushing
all
it.
that stuff. Yeah.
Tesla.
Like, and I think you actually tweeted something about the other day about stocks. Hey, are you putting your money in here? That's it. But these are where wealthy investors are putting their money, and they they seem to know what they're doing.
I
And
think my first question actually is I wonder why, maybe I don't know if you have any thoughts on this, but I'm wondering why industrial is so hot right now.
I think that, well, they were talking about more like cold storage, right? Like the Amazon distribution centers. Like Amazon's hot
Oh,
during the
okay.
pandemic, right?
I got
Warehouse
you.
spaces, and now we got the vaccines. Like cold storage is like, oh,
Yep.
that's a hot thing right now, because the pandemic just sort of, kind of like accelerated that asset class, right?
E-commerce and
Yeah,
warehouse needs and
yeah,
production lines
exactly.
and
Yeah, everyone's at
fulfillment
home now.
facilities.
Everyone's got
Yeah.
like side gigs. Maybe they're doing, Amazon marketing or whatever they do, packaging. I
Hmm.
thought about doing that too as a side gig too, but I'm like, I can't. I don't want to package stuff. I don't want to create more work than I want to do. I'm lazy. I'm
Oh
lazy.
man. Well, maybe our next investment is a warehouse in the middle of nowhere. Who knows?
Yeah, yeah. Well, maybe we start packing REI Real Talk T-shirts in our homes and start sending it out to people, right?
I love it.
So,
One day we're gonna have a apparel line. You'll see. You'll see. You'll see.
yeah, yeah. So that was like my not so fun fact, I guess, or just an
Well,
interesting kind of
I
article.
think you've brought these first two episodes, man. You
Yeah,
brought the fun to these episodes. I didn't come prepared. As
yeah,
always, I put a shirt on about 2 minutes before I hit record.
yeah,
And I think we're gonna get better every episode. So this is
yeah,
awesome. I always have a
yeah,
good fun time talking to you,
yeah,
man.
yeah. I mean,
And
we can end with like one go-to question. I kind of have it here, like kind of same in a similar topic of like kind of like personal finance. I guess like, with everything that you've gone through so far, what advice would you give your younger self if you could go back in time, in terms of like saying preparing yourself to buy that first deal, kind of like in that topic? What would you
yeah,
kind of tell you?
I think
I think we kind of touched on it too,
we're
right?
well,
Yeah.
I think my brain went to, and I'm hoping this is not super cliche, but it probably is. But like I remember when I was younger, I was a little bit more scared to take risks, whether that was asking the girl out or
Mhm.
investing in a property far away, because you always think about the worst case scenario. But I think the last few years, I've really been able to shift my mindset to not be afraid of like bad outcomes, because I've somehow trained my brain to see every like challenge or losing moment as like a learning moment. So
Mhm.
like I think if I had that mentality 10 years ago, I'd be probably doing a lot better, we'll call it financially, just because I would take more risks and then
Yeah.
also understand that really bad outcomes are not necessarily always bad. Like that one mistake had to happen for you to progress. And that's kind of how I saw that first investment. Like we'll talk about this later, but that first investment was not a good investment. But
Mhm.
it propelled me to that second investment, which then propelled me to the third investment and the fourth
Mm,
investment and this and so on. So like, I think if I somehow could tell my younger self, like, don't worry about rejection or getting or the worst case scenario is like there's always a learning piece or moment or nugget to take out
mm.
of that scenario or experience. Like, I think I would have been better off actually.
Yeah,
So
like
I would just, the mentality itself would carry me alone further.
yeah, I mean, like yeah, that's a great point. Like, don't be afraid to fail, right? Fail
Yeah.
forward, fail fast, and fail is just an acronym for first attempt in learning,
Yep.
right? And just it's important to like take your failures, learn from it, and then move forward, right? So that's a yeah, that's a great point. And I wish yeah, I would totally go back and tell tell my younger self that. I'll tell my kids that my kid fails all the time, so
But that's not
he
a
said
bad thing.
yeah, he just
Yeah.
needs to fail forward, like learn
Yeah.
from it. He's like 4, so he doesn't know what's going on yet right now, but whatever. But
So
yeah,
so
but
what I was gonna say, what's your answer? So what would you kind of tell your younger self back in the day if you could go back and talk to young
uh, oh,
Sherwin G?
I had it. Then I got kind of like distracted by my whole
Oh
fail
no.
acronym. Oh no, I guess like when I was saving up, like my money, or like made that conscious choice to invest, not invest, to purchase my first deal. I think once it was just take action, do that one first step. Right. And I tell people this right now, like, hey, what should I do to start investing? I just told my friend the other day, I just had a call with him. He was interested in buying his first house. I was like, do that first step, get pre-approved for a loan. It's free.
That's the first step.
Call a lender, contact a lender, go on Bigger Pockets, find a lender, ask us if you need some lender referrals, or your family or friends. I'm sure you know someone in your network that bought a house. Who did you use for your lender? Call them up, get pre-approved. Step one. That's easy. Take action. Then now you know how much of a house or condo or apartment, whatever you want to buy, how much you can afford, and you can start shopping. So just take that first step. There's that one great book, The One Thing. I think we talked about, like, by
Hmm.
Gary Keller and Jay Paulson. Like, they talk about like knocking down that first demo. Like, just take action.
Hmm.
That's it. You won't have all the knowledge, all the information right away. I didn't when I got my first property. I surely did it, but just take action. You learn so much by experience and by doing. So that's what I'll probably tell my kind of younger self. On top of, like, you know, take action and fail, which is kind
Yeah.
of like
There we go.
take action again. So
I
I
was
don't
gonna
know.
say, jump in and take flight. There we go.
Oh yeah, there you go. Little plug, wink, wink, little plug up there. No, I think it was a great little episode. I know we kind of went off on different tangents, but that's sort of how like our show is, like, just kind of like you and I having a conversation and seeing where it leads, right?
Yeah. No, I
Yeah.
love it, man. I guess we'll close on hopefully you enjoyed this episode. Be
Yep.
sure to like and subscribe. And then I don't know how we don't have a legit outro yet. So I'm just gonna say, Sherwin, it's been real, man.
Yeah, it's been real, man. So, like, figure out your guys' why. Maybe comment below. What's your guys' why? Why you want to invest in real estate, or maybe why you want to, have additional streams of income. You know, Everyone's is different. So, you know, let's start. It's been real.
Peace. It's been real.